I'm going to show you now how to applique using the very bog standard machine around your shapes and characters. Now you can see that on the right is my big large machine that I normally use, my Janome 15,000, and on the left you can see my small Janome miniature bog standard machine. Okay, and we'll go into more details of that as we progress. I am having a bit of a nightmare trying to film this. Now, I'm doing it on my little machine because I was having a conversation with some of the girls last night, and they were saying, oh, well, you know, you've got this lovely big machine, so, you know, if I had a machine like that, I'm sure I could do it. Well, no, I have said that, you know, aside from the embroidery things that we do now and again, everything I do, I design that you can do with straight or zigzag, or perhaps using a blanket stitch. All right, now any machine can sew up and down in a straight line. Yeah, so that's number one. So what I've just done is I've got a bit of material, and I've just you know, stuck down some odd shapes, some circles, some hearts, a square, things that are going to, you know, you would say, well, you know, it's very easy going around, but what about when we got actual things to do, like on the Peter Rabbit, or on some of the, say, the Christmas applique that I put up for you to go on the stockings, and you think, oh, I'm not going to sit there and sew it by hand. Well, you don't have to. You can do it by machine. So I'm going to use my little Janome. It's teeny little Janome. It's a 2030DC. It's got very basic stitches on it. I'm going to try and turn you around so that you can see the stitches. And let me see if I can get, first of all, it plugs in. This is so awkward. I need a different tripod when I'm doing close-up stuff like this. Right, so let me just see if I can show you. Can you see my stitching array here? So I've got straight stitches, got stitches that do a lock on and a lock off stitch. A back stitch and a back off stitch, a lock on and a lock off stitch. A triple run, then that's like a ziggy, well, you know, that's hard to say what that is really. And then you've got some some zigzags, and you've got some of these are over stitches for the edges, over edging stitches. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think that that would be a nice blanket stitch. Okay, then that one is for the 1/4 inch, and then you've got some buttonholes, and you've got a little eyelet one there as well. And then you've got, that's a darning stitch, and that's a sculpture stitch. So mine doesn't do any letters or anything posh like that. You know, it doesn't do numbers or letters or things like that. It's a very basic model, which I bought some years ago when I had trouble with my other machine and it had to go away for a while. So I just wanted something cheap and cheerful that kept me going, you know, over the time. So let me just make sure that you are now positioned where you can see my hand in the machine. Right, that's lovely. Okay, so, oh, saying that, I need the machine closer to me, so I might have to turn the camera. Can you still see my hand? Where's my fingers? Yeah, I can see that you can see me. Right, so I do have a little table for this, but I'm not going to put it on because then you'll say, oh, well, you've got a table. Right, so I am just dropping off the last thing that I used, which was a 1/4 inch foot. Okay, and then this is an applique foot. Now, when I got this out of my little bag of spare feet for this machine, because they're a different size than that machine, I noticed that although it had in the perspex a little cutout to show me where my mark would be, it wasn't coloured. So I went and got a black, oh, what's it? It begins with S. Oh, I can't remember that. But it's a permanent marker, yeah? And I just literally coloured in that dot so that it's perfectly clear to me where that dot is and not just transparent. So that helps. Now, my feet lock on. So I just got my threads up like this, and I can put that foot away. What have I got in there? All sorts, Jack. Right, pop that away. This is what I have done, and the first thing I want to do is test out some stitches. Now I'm stitching in white because I want it to show. I want you to see it on the black, on the navy blue I put on here, but then I also wanted to see how you can't really see it on the white. But first of all, I want something with a contrast that I can just test out my stitches, and I suggest that you always test out the stitches on a bit of scrap before you do anything, because you never know what's going to happen. So let's take a zigzag. That's number 7. Hang on, I gotta remember how to do these things. 7, and that's saying 5, which is the width of my thing. I don't want 5, so I'm going to move along to the width. Oops, move along to the width and take that down to probably about a 3. Now let's see how that goes. All right, this is all trying it out for a minute. Now I've also got it on ultimately slow, so I'm just going to bring it up. Right, I quite like that, but I'd like it a bit closer together. So I move it over to where it says 1.5, and I'm bringing that down to 1. Now that should bring the zigzag closer together. Which indeed it has. Right, so needle up. What do I do with this? Oh, yeah, it's all fash. Right, and cut it off. Now, okay, so let's look at that, if you can see it. I started off, it's 3 millimeters wide, and it was 1.5 inches in closeness. What, not 1.5, 1.5 as it says on my machine, which I probably think are millimeters. And then, as you can see, just about here, I brought it down to 1, which made it a little bit more closer together. So it would be your preference whether you wanted it spaced further apart or spaced further together, but that's how we do it, by using the last digit, or the last, or you might have a knob to turn, but that was the last slot I did was on 1, that was on 1.5. Now if I take that last digit up, hang on a minute, I moved the wrong thing then. Right. If I take that up to say 3.5, okay, and I'll do it next to it. Oh, put your foot down, Jack. Now that's at 3.5. You can see, although I haven't changed the width of it, I haven't changed the actual width of the stitch, but I have made it very, very long. Okay, oh, I did actually, I did change that to 5 as well. It changed when I moved my needle. Right, okay, so that's zigzagging. Let's look at what I think is 13, which I think is says use there. Right, now as it's set on the machine, let's have a little go and see what comes out. Right, so get our cottons out of the way. Yes, I was right. That is a blanket stitch. Okay, but I wouldn't want my blanket stitch so close together, and I wouldn't want my blanket stitch points to be that long. So I move over to, first of all, the width of the stitch from left to right, and I will take that down, whoops, take that down to 2.0, and then I'll go to the length of the stitch, which means how close they are that way, and I'm going to take that up, and I'm going to take that, it won't let me go any bigger. Okay, well, I've set it on 2 and 2.5. Why won't it let me go? It just won't. Okay, well, I'll just do another row. I keep forgetting to put my... Right, no, I agree with you, that's too small. Wait a minute, let me just pull off my threads. Now, looking at that, yeah, I agree, that is too small. So, let's go back to, okay, if I, that was 3.5 and 2.5. So let's try it. I'm going to try it on 3. Oh, put my flimmer foot down. I go a bit faster. I would not go that fast when I'm going around a an object, trust me. Oops. But sometimes you do have long straight bits, don't you? Right. There's something to be said, isn't there, for automatic cutters? Right. So yeah, now I've worked it through. I'm happiest with this one. This one is 3 on the width and 2.5 on the length. All right. So that's what I'm going to use on some of them. On some of them, I'm going to use the zigzag. So let's start with that. I need a pair of scissors here. Have I got a pair of scissors? No. I'll get one in a minute. But anyway, so let's start. I really ought to put a different colour cotton in for the white so that you can see it nice and clearly. Yeah, let me just do that a second. Okay, I'm just trying to sort out a few lighting issues here. And before we move on to going around an object, hold on, let me just... Oh, I hurt my nail. A bit closer to my machine. Find my foot pedal, there he is. The other thing I didn't say, going back a moment to the zigzag, which was number 7. 7. Now, I did say to do a satin stitch, what you need to do is to really close down the stitch. So, that's on 5. I'm going to leave it on 5. And I'm going to bring my satin down to 0.5. And again, we're just testing. I put some orange moon thread on now. Right, now, oops, there, yeah. I don't like not having a thread cutter. Blimey. Right, now, okay, so that
that is nearly a satin stitch. It's not quite closed up enough, is it? So I'm going to narrow it anyway, because that's very, very wide. You wouldn't want it that wide. So I'm going to go back to that, and take that down to 3, which is the same width as this one. Yeah. And then when I had it on 0.5, will it let me come down? I'm coming down to 0.3. Let's see what happens now. Now it's not going to move very quickly because those stitches are right on top of one another. Alright, so you know there's a heavy lay down of stitches, so it's not going to go, the material is not going to move very quickly. But this is just my point. Boy, loving it, loving it. Right, I just wanted to show you. There. Now, you see, using a zigzag, even though my machine does not do a satin stitch, but closing up that zigzag, I've made a satin stitch. Okay, so you can do that on any machine that does. I don't think there's many machines out there now that don't do a zigzag of some sort. Yeah, so there we are. That's me testing my stitches. Well, now I'm going to go back. Oh, there was one more stitch I looked on here and I quite fancied, which was number 14. So let me, I don't know what it looks like. So I got orange so I can see the difference now. 14. Now it has moved my needle over, and I am going to go as 2 and 4. Putting that to 3. I'll leave it on 2 and let's see what happens with that. Well, yeah, that's another form of blanket stitch, but in all honesty I think I preferred the one we did in the first place. But I can space that out more, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to go back to my original 13 and 3, wasn't it? 13 and 3, right. You ought to write down what you're happy with, right? You really should. Okay, so now yeah, I'm just placing my needle on the outside of my material, and I'm following that dot in front, black dot. I am following. You may have to pick up and move it slightly every now and again. Ooh, and I should, have I got, yeah. Put your needle down, if you've got one, a needle down button for when you're moving. So you stop, needle down. Now we're coming to a point here, so I want to make sure there that my needle stops on the outside while I pick up and move my fabric. See what I'm doing? Which is quite important when you get to these tighter curves. Now, whoops, before we stopped with the needle on the outside, because that is an outside curve, yeah? Now when I'm coming down, and I've got to look very closely at this. Oh, there he was. Let's do that again. There he is. Now I'm stopping with my needle on the very inside of that heart. Yeah. Lining myself back up. There he goes. Put a little adrift there. If you go adrift, stop and manoeuvre. And then coming back up now. Yeah. And I am going to press my overlocker button. Not my overlocker, my finish off button. Needle up. Bring that out. Cut my threads. Right. Right, so you can see I just went all the way around that heart. Yeah? And, you know, let's just try a different stitch. And, right, I put the white back in, so I want you to see, and this time, I've lost my foot, there it is. This time I'm going to do zigzag, yeah? And I'm doing it around a really, you know, burny shape. Either down would help that. Because I know a lot of people prefer zigzag on appliqué. It's just keeping that dot on the outside of your fabric all the time. On my other machine I got a knee lift, so instead of having to keep doing this I can just whack it with my knee and it lifts. With zigzag you don't have to be quite as precise as you do with blanket stitch. But I wanted to do something in a corresponding... Ooh, lost the plot entirely there, Jack. Where did you go? Doesn't matter. Can we cover? My fabric's over here, look. Right. I haven't got the best of light here in this corner. But still, I do the best. Making all excuses now, see? Right, so I get back to where I was. I do a lock off stitch. Needle up. Thing up. Cut my stitches. So there is me gone round with zigzag around an item. Alright, so you don't have to pretend that's white. But you can see it's quite effective and it looks quite nice. I'm gonna I will do around this bit now in white what's it called? Blanket stitch. So that you can see, oh, little tang, so that you can see that by doing it with the correct colour, of your given shape, how lovely and neat it can look. Have I caught up with my stitches yet? It's hard to tell. I think I have. Not quite. Yeah, I think I have. No, I think I overstitched. It doesn't matter. If you had better light than I got, you would know where you were. Right. Right, so there it is, all done in blanket stitch in the white. That one is done in zigzag on the white. You could do it in satin stitch, and all these stitches and all this applique work, you can see what I'm doing. I've showed you, you can do it on a bog standard little machine that has got limited stitches. It's all down to how you set it up. When you decide with your tests, like I've done, and you decide, oh, hang on, this is the one I want, write down that setting so that you know it. You know, I got a friend and she puts a post-it on her machine, because whenever she sits down to do it, she's like, oh God, what was it? Well, you write it. Later on in the year, we're making a sewing notebook, right? So write it in your notebook. But anyway, so that you know what you're doing. But, you know, I probably will finish this off just for the sake of it. But no, I don't know. What's the point? But I think this video's gone on long enough for you to have got a taste and an idea that when I put up things that are going to be applique work, I don't mean you to hand sew it, I mean you to put it down in this fashion. Now, I will always put up the embroidery files for us girls who've got embroidery machines, because, I mean, obviously you've got an embroidery machine, well, you let the machine do the work, don't you? But it doesn't mean to say that you can't do it yourself, yeah? Okay, well, I hope that has proved my point to Kelly and, oh, I can't remember the name of the other girl I was chatting to. Oh, I don't know, but we were chatting late last night, and of course a bit of bravado because I'd had a wine, but I thought, no, I've got to be true, and I've got to show them that no matter what machine you got, you can do it.